Hello everyone, welcome to my Call of Duty World War II Veteran Difficulty walkthrough. This is the final mission, the Rhine, and here is a transition right here, because I got killed by the programmed mortar fire that occurs in this beginning part of the mission. So if there is one thing that this final mission captures, which definitely represents one of the worst aspects of Call of Duty Classic, it's the idea of a program design killing you randomly out of nowhere, because there were certain missions in Call of Duty Classic where you just got killed by programmed mortar fire for no reason, and it just led to a lot of bullcrap, and you had no control over it. Regardless of where you went, you could be killed by programmed mortar fire, and yes, you could take cover in certain parts, but in the moments where you're forced to run, you could get killed by programmed mortar fire. Or it's like those moments in Modern Warfare 2, like for instance, the safe house mission, where you're running away from all those enemies and you're trying to get to that extraction point and you can randomly die. Or in the Macmillan defense in Modern Warfare 1, where you can die while picking up Price, or when you're escorting him into the helicopter and you have no real way of fighting back. That's what it felt like. But the good news is that I didn't get repeatedly killed in a row during that beginning part of the mission. So I'll let the game off. As long as there is some measure of control and some measure of ability to dodge the mortar fire, I think Sledgehammer Games can definitely make that a thing, because I feel like Sledgehammer Games is the better of the Call of Duty developers when it comes to game balance, because Black Ops Cold War was incredibly balanced, and then this game felt incredibly balanced, aside from Mission 8, because Mission 8 was absolute garbage. What a terrible sequence that honestly belongs in a game like Modern Warfare 1 or Black Ops 1, in all honesty. But everything else, it felt great. Like, I definitely enjoyed this campaign. I mean, the final mission of this game, which is what I'm showing right now, it hits differently with me. Like, I just feel like with final mission material, really the one part of this mission that actually felt like final mission material was the ending of this mission, where you save Zussman and you're walking through that burned camp. Everything else here, it feels like standard stuff that you've been doing throughout the full game. But I don't know if that's really worth making a point about, because really anyone can make such a subjective opinion about that. And maybe with the way I was playing this game, where I would play each mission, and then I would record, and then I would just switch off the game, and then play the next couple of missions the next day, and just have that cycle repeat. Maybe the way I was doing that caused me to have different feelings, because I wasn't really going through this game as a whole. Like, I was kind of doing an in-the-moment approach when it came to actually doing this game. So maybe that's why my feelings feel kind of mixed with this final mission of the game. And compared to Black Ops Cold War's final mission with the good ending, where that game had honestly the shortest final mission ever in the entire Call of Duty series, it felt like it was like 5 minutes long, so it felt like speedrunner territory. There's a little bit more to this mission, but like I said, it's very standard stuff, and grenades are very helpful for this final mission when you're clearing out the towers, because you're in close quarters and the enemy has better cover than you. So using the splash damage on the grenades, because Sledgehammer Games actually knows how to make the grenades feel very satisfying and very useful, I'm able to clear out these towers with ease. And Styles is very helpful, because you can run out of grenades easily on this mission because of how much you're using them, and Styles will really help in resupplying your grenades. But we're on the bridge now, and you want to take this nice and slow. I mean, this first initial introduction to the bridge, the enemies tend to run away because they're trying to trap you in this moment where they're going to try to blow up the bridge. See right here, they're falling back. So you are free to exit cover now and just go to this invisible barrier, which represents where Pearson is. And then the moment's going to happen where the explosion will trigger, and then all the smoke's going to appear, and there's going to be a couple of enemies blinded by the smoke, so you can take the time to take them out. And then when you get to the later part of this bridge, you're going to be doing some cover-to-cover shooting, and that's really the trickiest part of the mission, I feel, aside from the trenches, because doing the trenches on this mission, there are times where you can take massive damage when you're first entering the trenches, and once you're past that point, the trenches are pretty simple. But this right here, this is the fight. You need to come over to this side and grab this Kar 98K, and you need to aim for the tower on your left, because there are a couple of Panzerschreck guys, and I missed one of the Panzerschreck guys because I thought I killed him, but I didn't, because the Kar 98K is a 2-shot kill mainly, and you want to go for headshots with the Kar 98K compared to the other sniper rifle that I used in the previous mission. But you just gotta clear out those Panzerschreck guys, then you just gotta take the time to snipe these guys. Try to push up as best as you can. I don't know if the spawn here is infinite. I'm just assuming that with these kind of fights, there are always going to be like infinite spawn moments. Because I mean, like when I'm pushing up, my team pushes up, but I don't know if they're doing that of their own volition or if it's because of me. But I just feel like if you don't push up, you'll likely trigger an infinite spawn. And I use Pearson just then. And I haven't really talked a lot about the squad abilities, but really the only squad members I ever utilize when I'm trying to get through these missions are Zussman, Turner, and Styles. Everyone else is just largely superfluous. I mean, I only used Aiello once in Mission 3, and then Pearson, I don't like Pearson's ability. I think his ability is my least favorite squad ability in the game, because what he does is he highlights the enemies, and you saw it being demonstrated, but why is it that you can't see the enemies through walls? You have to pretty much put yourself out of cover to actually see the outlines of the enemies, so really, it feels like the squad ability that Pearson has doesn't change up the gameplay any differently if you weren't using his squad ability. And if you could actually see through walls, that'd be so beneficial, because then you could set up these moments where you pre-fire and deal with the enemies. Like, look at Black Ops 3. Black Ops 3 had the DNI system, and whenever your team saw enemies, they actually showed up on your DNI, and you could see them through walls, and you could tell if they were firing at you, or if they were firing at your teammates, or if they were, like, throwing grenades, or any kind of feedback like that. Like, that was so reliable, but for some reason Sledgehammer Games didn't bother putting a similar system like that, where you can see the enemies through the walls. If Pearson can see them, I should be able to see them as well. But it doesn't do that at all, and that makes Pearson's squad ability the most useless ability ever. I mean, at times it can be helpful because the enemies can sometimes blend into the background, and Pearson can be helpful in that aspect, but again, you're putting yourself in a position where you're likely going to take damage because of how accurate the enemies are on this game, and with how aggressive they are towards you compared to the other enemies. And that right there, Pearson took out that flamethrower guy in one melee hit, so that just goes to show how useful the AI can be at times when they're engaging in melee combat, because normally the flamethrower guys take a beating from your weapons, but Pearson just like slapped him in the face and he died. That was pretty cool. But you'll notice right here that the enemies are retreating, so you can use this as a time to push forward, but don't trust it too much, because at times when you make them flinch, they'll turn around and start shooting you, or they might do it of their own volition, so be very careful of that. And then this is where you should definitely use some grenades, because there are a lot of enemies in this room right here, and Styles is full on his squad ability at the moment, so I could use him right now, but I choose to wait, because there could always be the possibility of enemies dropping grenades, and I don't want to waste his ability too soon. And this is really the last part of the mission where I use the squad abilities, because the trenches can easily be done without the use of the squad abilities, and the enemies don't seem to be very aggressive. In fact, it feels like the enemies are scripted to drop down from certain spots or to actually appear where they are, do these preset animations whenever you're moving forward, so you can take advantage of that. And I grabbed that MG42 on accident. It's very odd that you can't take the MG42 with you, because in World at War you could hold the MG42 as a weapon, but you can't do it on this game, and the MG42 isn't really the best, and I don't like the iron sight on it. I feel like the iron sight is very, very dishonest. It's the same with the vehicles. Like, you use an MG42 or some other machine gun that looks a lot like the MG42 whenever you're inside those vehicles, but the accuracy is horrendous. Like, it feels like even when you're aimed in, you're not being very accurate, and I feel like I'm more accurate when I'm not aiming the MG42 on those vehicles than just actually aiming in. It's so bizarre that it would work like that. And this right here, I run out of grenades, and I don't want to push forward because I know how useless these smoke grenades are. I mean, look at that. And this is where I choose to tell Styles to give me some grenades. And it's superfluous, but it definitely helped for clearing out the top floor. And at least I'll have some grenades to spare if I decide to use them during the trench moment, but you really don't because of how scripted it feels. And with that scripted nature, it makes it a lot better in its designs. But like I said, you gotta be very careful of the very beginning of that trend sequence, because there could be shotgunners looking at you, and they'll do a lot of damage, and then the guys that are to your left as you're making your way over to the trench can damage you as well. And you cannot trust the scripted smokes that are thrown by your allies in order to give you an opening to move, because I think the enemies can still shoot you through that programmed smoke, which, once again, just goes to show how crap the smoke grenades are. If even your allies, when they use smoke grenades, can't stop the enemies from actually dealing damage to you. And that is the last enemy in this tower, and I'm just going to transition over to the beginning of the trend sequence. And you need to hug the left-hand side and then wait for the smokes to detonate. I probably should have waited longer, because I know how awkward these smokes are, where it feels like you have to wait for a long time while the smoke is preparing in order to actually get a better chance of moving. Because watch this, look, I'm taking damage on the left, and I nearly die right here. I mean, look at this. Like, why the heck should you take damage from that kind of crap? I mean, it's programmed smoke. It should stop the enemies, but it doesn't do that there. And this shotgunner, I'm lucky that he didn't try to shoot me through the smoke, because his shotgun is very damaging. The incendiary shotgun does quite a lot of damage to you. It's one of the most powerful weapons that the enemies have. But this is the scripted moment, so that guy I killed, this guy I kill, and then this guy will always drop down, so I kill him, and then there are 2 enemies right over here. So get rid of them as quickly as possible. Try your best not to take any damage. And then man the AA gun, and you're going to be shooting down Stukas, just like in the second mission. And like I said before in the second mission, you need to make sure you're leading your shots with the AA gun so that you actually hit these Stukas. You have to make sure that they are within the explosion that is generated by your shots, so that they actually take damage. And also make sure that you don't fire too much, because the AA gun is a cooldown feature. So you gotta make sure it doesn't overheat. And memorize the pattern and you should be fine. Compared to mission 2, I was at least able to memorize this pattern. So there weren't any moments where I was just completely blinded by my own shots and I couldn't see the Stukas coming at me. So I was able to shoot in that direction and just take him out. And also, you notice how Howard is telling you where these Stukas are coming from? He's very delayed, it feels like, when it comes to relaying that information. And also, what direction he says is dependent upon where you are looking. I didn't realize that was how it worked. I thought it was just, he says one thing and then you gotta flick the camera to that direction. But I didn't realize he actively changes his commands depending on where you're looking at the time. So bear that in mind if you're trying to use the AI as guidance. But you'll notice right here I couldn't fire, which means the scripted sequence is about to happen where the Stukas get killed. And that is the end of this AA gun sequence. And now we have this stupid sequence. So it's easy to die on this part because the enemies, it seems like they're going to get killed by the programmed mortar fire that occurs here, because I think it's mortar fire from your allies. But there are times when the mortar fire, being random as it is, just fails to kill the enemies quick enough. So right here, there are a couple of enemies rushing up this trench right here, and they're always there. And there's no telling if they're going to die very quickly from the mortar fire or not. And I don't know what happened to them just then. I don't know if my allies killed them or the mortar fire killed them. But don't take any chances. And when you're over here, you just gotta rush through this part. And then there's going to be this moment right here. Watch this. I'm at full health. And I take damage from a scripted sequence. Look at that. That has to happen in order to script the sequence. Does that mean you can die from a scripted moment like that? Or does it just default you to 1 HP? Because during a slow motion sequence, you can't die from the enemies. If that is the case, that's really dumb. But I'm hopeful that that's not going to be the case with Sledgehammer games. I know like Treyarch or Infinity Ward in the olden days would probably allow that to slide, but not Sledgehammer games. And we've done this. Now save Zuspin, and that is the end of this game. So thank you all for watching, and you take care now.